I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. Iran is very important in Iraq. It is almost certainly the most powerful external actor in Iraq today. It wields influence in Iraq that it has not in decades, if not potentially centuries. But nevertheless, there are limits on Iran's influence in Iraq, starting with the fact that a lot of Iraqis just don't like the Iranians and would prefer not to have them there. And the fact of the matter is that everything in Iraq is difficult because the state is a mess. And therefore, the ability of the Iranians to get things done is ultimately limited as well. Well, first, when you talk to most Iraqis, they'll point to everything from trade with Iran to the provision of money to a whole variety of different Iraqi entities. And all of this does play a role. But I think, truth be told, as I've been digging into this issue for this project, three factors are really emerging as the most important. First is the old real estate line about location, location, location. Iran is right next door, and they always will be. And that idea of time, of the fact that Iran is never going to go away, weighs very heavily on Iraqis who feel like they will always have to accommodate Iran. Second, there is the fact that at the end of the day, the Iranians will, or at least have a reputation for being willing to do pretty much anything to get their way. Kill people, pay them off, provide weapons, provide money. And they do some of this, certainly. But the truth of the matter is that Iraqis tend to exaggerate this, and Iran gets enormous bang for the buck because of this outsized reputational effect. And then the last piece of it, they invest in people. Right? They find people who are willing to do their bidding, they tie them to Iran, they give them what they need to get things done. In a very messy, weak, personalized state like Iraq, that is critical. Less than perhaps we might ever should have. The U.S., because of who we are as a democracy, as a nation of laws, we much prefer to bank on institutions. And even when we were backing someone like Nouri al-Maliki as the prime minister of Iraq, or Medhat al-Mehdi as the supreme jurist of Iraq, we were really backing on their institutions. And the institutions are weak. Well, first off, Americans have a very hard time understanding the mutability of identity. We assume that everyone is exactly who they are and always defines it the same way. They aren't. In different circumstances, different aspects of your identity come out. Right? And we assume that the fact that most Iraqis are Shia Arabs, and Shia being the operative word there, means that they see themselves as tied to Shia Iran. In fact, what we saw through most of Iraq's modern history, and certainly through the Iran-Iraq War, was that Iraqis tended to define themselves as Arabs first and foremost. But in the chaos of Iraq's civil war, in the security vacuum, when no one was there to help anyone, groups had to find protection wherever they could. And Iran was always willing to be there for the Shia. And as a result, you had a lot of Iraqi Shia who very grudgingly threw in their lot with Iran. Absolutely. And I think this question is a great one because the Saudis, in all of this, have been the dog that doesn't bark. Iraqis of all stripes, but particularly Sunni Arabs, have consistently looked to Saudi Arabia to provide a counterbalance to the influence of Iran. And truth be told, I think that there are a lot of Iraqi Shia who would love to see Saudi Arabia step in and play a more engaged role in Iraq so that they could use the Saudis to balance off the Iranians and not feel so indebted to them. The Saudis have never been willing to do so. They have consistently dismissed Iraq as America's problem or a lost cause. I am hopeful that the visit of the Saudi foreign minister signals a willingness on the part of Riyadh to change and to recognize that Iraq is an extremely important country, and there would be a lot to be gained from investing there. Well, certainly there are some in Washington who care. How many and how important they are, that remains to be seen. We'll see if the Trump administration really recognizes the importance of Iraq. It's worth noting that the president criticized President Obama for having walked away from Iraq in 2014 or 2011. Well, he's going to get the same opportunity. Does he walk away from Iraq in 2017? And certainly he does have a lot of people in his national security staff who have intimate knowledge of Iraq, who fought and bled for Iraq, and I think do have a sense that Iraq is not a lost cause, but it's not going to survive, let alone thrive, without American assistance.